You're settled in, on the sofa maybe, or in your favourite chair. The day is done. Your phone is in your hand and your thumb is scrolling a river of news, updates, opinions. You feel informed. You feel in control. But a lot of what passes through your feed isn't designed to inform you. It's designed to manage you, your emotions, your attention, your decisions. This audio is designed for headphone consumption. No visuals needed. Use your imagination. Picture the narratives. Maybe you're listening on a walk, doing chores, on a long train ride. You get the picture. This is about bracing yourself for a world where our collective consciousness is easily manipulated. This is about preparing your mind to say no when you're offered the Kool-Aid. We're staying away from politics. We're focusing on psychology. What happens inside your mind when a psychological operation targets you? First, doubt as a product. Imagine a cloud of smoke in a boardroom, not from a cigarette, but from a strategy. Historians Naomi Oreskes and Eric Conway documented how powerful industries, tobacco, fossil fuels, used a simple playbook. They didn't have to prove cigarettes were safe. They just had to keep the public unsure, to keep the controversy alive. Psychologically, this works because of what Leon Festinger called cognitive dissonance. When your beliefs and the information in front of you don't match, it creates a mental itch. It's uncomfortable, so you look for a way to scratch it, either by changing your mind or by avoiding the topic. If a company can keep you in that state of controlled confusion, you delay. You keep smoking because the risks are still being debated. You postpone action. The discomfort that should push you to change is redirected into endless waiting. Now travel to the other extreme. Emotional hijacking. Picture a story built around a single shocking image. Suffering, injustice. Your emotional brain, the amygdala, fires before your rational brain can even boot up. You feel fear, anger, disgust in a fraction of a second. You're in protection mode, not analysis mode. Research backs this up. A massive Facebook experiment showed that by tweaking the emotional content of news feeds, they could change the mood of users' own posts. Negative feeds bred negative posts. It was emotional contagion on a scale of millions. Another study, analysing tweets, found that each word with a moral, emotional tone, outrage, righteousness, increased a message's spread by 20%. Moral anger travels further, faster. So when a story makes you furious, remember, you are stepping into a tested psychological pipeline. Your brain is designed to react. The system is designed to reward that reaction. After doubt and emotion comes something deeper, tribal identity. Think of two rival sports stadiums, roaring. Now imagine that, but for ideas. Social identity theory explains that we build our self-image from the groups we belong to, our nation, our political tribe, our online community. We feel good when our group is winning, threatened when it's attacked. This means a narrative can become a badge. If believing a story signals you're loyal, your brain will protect that story. When someone questions it, it feels like a personal attack. You're no longer evaluating facts, you're defending your home turf. This is why debates often look like two fan clubs shouting. Psychologically, both sides are doing the same thing, using arguments to protect self-esteem and group belonging, not to search for truth. Now, add authority to the mix. Imagine a man in a lab coat, calm, in a sterile room. Stanley Milgram's famous experiments showed that ordinary people, when urged by an authority figure, were willing to deliver what they thought were painful electric shocks to another person. 65% continued to the maximum voltage, all because the man in the coat said, "The experiment requires that you continue." Authority bias means our brains treat titles and institutional logos as a shortcut. And that's not always bad. You can't verify every aircraft design yourself, but in a psychological operation, these signals can be manufactured. Committees with serious-sounding names, letters from experts, can give a narrative the weight of science without the substance. So how do we become so vulnerable? The work of Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman on cognitive biases gives us the answer. We use mental shortcuts. A dramatic story you saw yesterday feels more real than a dry statistic from last year. The first framing you hear becomes your anchor. If a crisis is framed as an attack, you see enemies. If it's framed as a mistake, you look for fixes. The facts are the same, but your mind is sent in different directions. Now bring the algorithm into the story. The platform you're on isn't neutral. Its goal is engagement. And studies show that content laced with strong moral emotion is more likely to be shared inside ideological bubbles. Combine that with emotional contagion, and you have a digital environment that systematically elevates outrage and punishes nuance. What does this constant manipulation do to us? For some, it produces blind trust. They pick one channel and outsource their thinking because it's exhausting to keep up. For others, it produces deep cynicism. I don't believe anything from the media, the government, the experts. This cynicism is often driven by understandable motives. People want to make sense of chaos, to feel safe, to protect their group, but extreme distrust doesn't give control. Research shows strong belief in conspiracy theories is often linked to lower well-being and poorer choices. You escape one manipulation only to fall for another that promises secret knowledge and clear enemies. One final ingredient closes the loop: our love of stories. When you're fully absorbed in a narrative, your attention, your emotion, your mental imagery all focused, you are transported. And people who are transported are more likely to change their beliefs to align with the story, especially if they don't see the strings being pulled. Psychological operations aren't lists of facts, they are stories with heroes, villains, victims, and a moral. Once that story feels satisfying, you start collecting evidence that fits it and ignoring what doesn't. That's confirmation bias, sitting on top of narrative transportation. So, where is the exit door? How do you protect yourself without becoming naive or paranoid? Think in terms of mental immunity. The concept is psychological inoculation. If you're exposed to a weakened version of a manipulation and shown the technique, you become more resistant to the real thing. You can apply a simple version of this yourself. First habit: when a story hits you with a strong emotion, name the emotion. Say to yourself, I feel anger. I feel disgust. I feel moral superiority. Just naming it creates distance. It moves you from automatic reaction to observation. Second habit: ask, who benefits if I accept this narrative exactly as it's given? A company? An industry? A political party? A platform seeking engagement? You won't always know the full answer, but the question reminds you that information is never free of interest. Third habit: look for what is missing. Are alternative explanations mentioned? Are there experts with different views? Are the numbers placed in context? In the case of tobacco and climate change, the manipulation became obvious as soon as you saw which voices had been excluded. These habits don't require a PhD, they require a pause, and that pause is precisely what most psychological operations try to remove. They use doubt to freeze you, emotion to rush you, tribe to recruit you, authority to silence you, and stories to hold your attention. When you quietly reinstall that pause, you interfere with the script. In a world full of manipulation, real power isn't having access to every secret file. Real power is keeping your capacity for calm, independent thought, a mind that can feel the emotion, recognize the technique, and still ask a few good questions, is a mind that is very, very hard to control. That is the real psychological counter-operation. Thank you for staying with me until the end. I appreciate your time, your attention, and your willingness to question how information shapes your mind. If this helped you see things a little more clearly, please take a moment to leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. It helps the platform know that this kind of deeper psychological content matters. Share this with a friend or a colleague who spends a lot of time online and maybe feels overwhelmed by all the noise. The more people understand these mechanisms, the harder it becomes to manipulate us. Thank you again for listening, and until next time, stay curious, stay calm, and protect your mind.